I think my husband fathered his best friend's children, and now one of them is attracted to my daughter. Update number 3. Let's get into it. I don't have any DNA test results back yet. That can take weeks. But now that I know Sophie is no longer in danger of dating a relative, the pressure is off. I'll get into this momentarily, but it frankly no longer matters if Luke fathered the children. I highly doubt my father-in-law is having an affair with Amy. At worst, he might know or even just suspect the truth about Amy and Luke. But it's also possible that he just refuses to believe they would do such a thing. I've been vague about details for privacy, but to put it very simply, Jim and Amy are both pretty white. Kat and Luke are not. Had Jim fathered Amy's babies, they would look different than they do. Nevertheless, I do have an update. While a stream of comments have called me spineless and naive, called me a sister wife, as an ex-Mormon, that hits a particular nerve. And most recently, a stream of comments have said my story is fake. Fair enough. It's the internet, but Luke is not the first scumbag husband to have 2 families. Several other comments have been incredibly kind and supportive, and I really appreciate it. Apologies if I haven't responded to a comment or direct message that you have sent. I cover as many as I could, but I was literally getting hundreds, so I definitely missed several of them. First things first, I discussed this in the comment, but our little team has supposedly recruited my mother-in-law. I said supposedly because Sophie and Tom were going to talk to her about getting help with submitting the DNA test, and at the advice of my lawyer, I am staying out of the process. Officially, I told Sophie not to do it, and she said she wouldn't. Mother-in-law hasn't contacted me about it either, though we have been in touch. I'll get into that more in a moment. The bottom line is that I can honestly say that I had no knowledge of any DNA tests. Loophole City. Another bit of good news. I was digging through the paperwork in preparation for my divorce, wanted to get a head start against Luke. And one thing that came to my attention is that my name is on the paperwork for our home. Luke's name is not. I was the one who bought the house, and we always planned to add Luke onto the paperwork at some point, but we never got around to it, and eventually the idea was forgotten. It was my lawyer, Paige, who pointed this out to me, and it was like finding a winning lottery ticket on the ground. I don't know where I'll be without Paige. She's a dear friend from college who I reach out to, hat in hand, for help. She's been there for me this past week, not just as legal counsel, but as a friend I really needed right now. The thing is, she's not our lawyer, me and Luke. We have our own family attorney who has helped us out of jams in the past. We clashed with our HOA a few years ago. Not worth getting into right now. But Paige is a lawyer who specializes in family law and has handled divorces before. Luke remembers her from college and knows she went into law, but doesn't know she's a divorce attorney. So I can have her over for coffee like we're catching up, and he has no idea anything is going on. Turns out, he's not the only one who can harbor someone under his spouse's nose under the guise of being a friend. So, on to the update. The last time I looked in Luke's phone was 3 months ago, around the point Sophie and Tom began to go around claiming they wanted to date. I found nothing. While I know how to search for recently deleted photos and didn't see any, my comments taught me how to find recently deleted messages. So, when Luke was asleep, I did just that. Swiped his phone and brought it downstairs, checked recently deleted. I am glad I did, but I also wish I had not, because I'm still reeling from the pain. Sure enough, a conversation with Amy had been deleted. Recent texts talking about the conflict between her and me, with Amy describing me as a problem and Luke trying to pacify her without defending me at all, to be clear. They both allude to how they had expected this for a while and just hoped it would never happen, presumably me accusing them of having an affair. While the whole conversation and the fact that it was deleted was sketchy, nothing was actually admitted. So I scrolled a bit higher to a few days before the fight. Amy's message got a bit more flirty. Then I saw it. 5 days before I confronted them, Amy sent Luke a topless picture, a selfie with no shirt or bra. Guys, I teared up. I knew it was true. I knew it in my bones, but seeing the proof still cut me like a hot knife. Doesn't help that Amy's always had bigger breasts than me. I exited the message app and checked Luke's recently deleted photos. Sure enough, the same selfie was there, and others. Amy topless, Amy naked in various poses to show off. Wow. There were pictures of the two of them together, cuddled and pressed close like a couple. In some of these, she was naked. In some, they both were. There were videos. Amy sent Luke a video message of herself topless, and I had to actually hear her voice talking to him in a tone that made me sick, about how she was sending him a quick video to help him get through the day. In more than one video, she called him her boo, and hearing her call him that, I almost vomited. Stop looking at that point. I've seen enough. For about 5 minutes anyways, then a strange compulsion to keep searching led me to check Luke's laptop. I knew enough of his passcodes to access his iCloud storage, and yeah, basically more of the same. There were letters, long letters between them. I didn't have the heart to read past the first few lines of one of them, but I did read Luke mention our children. There were countless naked, topless selfies of Amy, selfies of them together. Videos where Amy appeared to be masturbating. There were sex tapes of the two of them. Tom had previously offered to try and hide a camera in Amy's room, but he never needed to. Luke was hiding a whole treasure trove under my nose all along. I scrolled and scrolled and scrolled. There were so many, going back years. Not all of it was even sexual. There were some photos of Amy's kids too. One video was of Kaylee and the twins playing together when they were younger, and Luke and Amy's voice from behind the camera. There were even old pictures of Luke and Amy from when they were younger. I'll even say teenagers. I snapped. All these years, I have been telling myself I had to be wrong, that it couldn't be true. Well, it was true. I know that no one forced me to look at as much as I did, but I'm still hurting very badly from having seen, and in that moment, I wanted to act. So I did. I called my lawyer, who was a remarkable woman. It was the middle of the night, so I had to call her twice, and she picked up. Though I had woken her up when I asked her to come by and said it was an emergency, she agreed. I also asked her to draw up the paperwork and have it ready. She told me she already had it ready since I first reached out to her. As I waited for her, I went through the necessary channels on Luke's laptop to make sure he wasn't able to remotely disconnect our access to his little stash. Changing passwords and all that. My lawyer, let's just call her Paige, arrived, and I went outside to greet her in the car. Spent a good half an hour in the passenger seat just crying, and she was great about that. Before I passed her Luke's phone and his laptop with all the information she needed to use them. She warned me that this could be considered theft. So I asked her to forward and print out copies of everything she could. and then bring the items back because I couldn't bear to do it myself. She agreed. I went back inside and then I packed up Luke's things while the house slept. At one point, Owen got up to use the bathroom and asked me what I was doing, but I told him I was just cleaning. Luke stirred once or twice while I was in the bedroom but did not wake. I got all of his things packed into trash bags and I loaded it up the car. That's when I woke him up and told him to come outside. He was confused and half asleep, but he did notice things were missing. I ignored his questions and just told him to come with me. So he followed me outside. Once we were by the car, I pulled out the divorce paper and officially handed them to him. That was about when he figured out what I was doing. He tried to talk me out of it, tried to be sweet with me, to be tendered. He kept insisting that he loved me and that there had never been anything with Amy. Kept on trying to persuade me not to tear our family apart. Even 2 weeks ago, I might have wilted under him because the manipulation and gaslighting were truly masterclass. But I can see through it now. I didn't tell him that I knew he was full of crap. I didn't tell him what I had seen. I just told him we were finished. He tried a different approach. He refused to go. Stated firmly that our children were his too, and that even if we were separating, I had no right to just decide the kids would stay with me over him. This is where I very coldly presented the paperwork reminding him that the house is in my name, and told him under no circumstances would my kids be staying with Amy. He argued a while longer, but in the end, he decided to be the bigger person and keep the peace. At the moment, I didn't care where he went. Before he left, he did ask about his phone and laptop, and I waved him off by saying they were in one of the bags. Bought a little time. I couldn't sleep for the rest of the night. I cried more. Eventually, I realized that I have to wake up my children early and explain to the extent that I could. Naturally, I woke Sophie first. I told her that I had kicked her father out and that I had discovered evidence of an affair on his devices. I did not specify what kind of evidence, and she did not ask. I woke up the others and gently told them that their dad had gone to stay somewhere else for a while, that I wasn't sure where, but from now on, things were going to be different. Louise was the one to ask if we were getting divorced, and I couldn't lie to her. I told her yes. Owen asked when they could see their father again, and I wanted to cry. Sophie was a very big help, urging her siblings to be sympathetic to me right now and worry about Dad later. I knew better than to poison them against their father. Paige warned me against doing that as well, as I only told Sophie that the affair was confirmed since she had already been in the know. However, as the kids were getting ready for school, Owen approached me and asked me point blank if it was about Amy, if Luke was going to be with her instead of me. I couldn't answer, but I suppose that's an answer on its own. Got the kids to go to school, and my next step was calling to have the locks changed. I knew Luke would be back for his device before long, but thankfully Paige returned with them before he showed up again. It was a very quick visit. She just told me that all was accomplished and she had records of everything we would need in court. Sure enough, Luke turned up an hour later demanding to know where his laptop and phone were. I had them set back in our bedroom like they had never been moved, and I just told him he had forgotten them. He insisted that I had said they were in one of the bags, so I just shrugged him off and told him I must have been mistaken. After he grabbed them, he tried again to reason with me, but I just showed him the door. I knew the kids would start to come home from school before long, and I think he was trying to delay leaving so he could see them. I was not having it. I started shouting again and sent him on his way. I'm still just in absolute pain and despair from what I have saw. I don't know if he'll realize that anyone went through his device and made copies of the evidence, or if he suspects I saw anything, but he obviously didn't say so. After he left, I cried once again. Talked to my mother-in-law that night. Apparently, Luke did show up to his parents' house, which was a surprise, as I was so certain he'll stay with Amy. But maybe even if he knows how suspicious that would look to the children, doesn't want to rock the boat as much. Maybe he knows I'm more likely to let my children see their grandmother than Amy at this point, and he wants to see them to give his version of the events. This was not happening. Kat already shared his version with me that he relayed to her and Jim, that I'm having some sort of mental breakdown, that he wishes he could help me, but my paranoia is causing me to lash out and turn violent. What? I was never violent. I shoved him away when he tried to hold me. That is all. And what's so hilarious is that he didn't mention Amy at all to his parents. He didn't even frame it as me falsely believing he was having an affair. Even though that's his story when talking to me, he left Amy out of it when talking to his parents. Kat noticed that. She believes me. Jim doesn't know what to believe anymore. According to Kat, he seemed very, very troubled by what he heard from all sides. As for Amy, she's radio silent. Tom has told Sophie that she's acting like nothing is wrong but is clearly stressed out. That when her children ask, she makes the same sort of claims, that I am having some kind of emotional nervous breakdown and pushing her away, as well as Luke. She doesn't mention anything about my accusing them of having an affair, but still puts it all on me. Amy has not tried to reach out to talk to me directly, and I have not tried talking to her since our big argument. I haven't really told my kids anything, just that I'm having disagreements with Luke and Amy, though I was very clear that it is not a question of my mental health. Honestly, I think they all kind of know what's going on. Sophie continues to be my rock as I try to be for her and the others, and Tom continues to be our spy in ranks. Right now, my biggest regret is the stress that all of this is causing on the children, which I knew it would, but it still needed to be done. My life has fallen apart, but it was never my life. Wow, what a dramatic change here. I can't believe that Lucas tried to gaslight the OP, trying to change the story from telling his parents. Wow, there's a lot of different things going on in this update. But let's see what the comments have to say. First comment says, I'll hire a forensic accountant to see how much he has been spending on his other family. Stay strong, it will get better. OP says, you and Paige have the same mind. And then another commenter went on to say, and I'm sure Paige is on top of this as well, but make sure all evidence and documentation supports why you don't owe him alimony. My condolences on the loss of not only the marriage you thought you had, but also the friend and nieces and nephews. That's a massive blow, and when the dust settles, take a little time for yourself to be kind to yourself. Wow. Then another commenter says, honestly, telling your kids the sanitized truth isn't poisoning them. It's the truth. You discover proof that their dad has been having an affair with Amy for years. That is a fact. Not only that, it's a fact some, if not all of them, already insinuated. You're just trying to take the high ground. Just leave him room to poison them against you. And then the OP says, you may be right. I totally agree. I think that the OP needs to be honest and tell the truth to all her kids about what's really going on. And let the kids decide on how they want to react at this point. The OP does provide another update. So if you want to hear what happens next, join me next time. And if you like these types of stories, remember to continue to like and subscribe. And I would also love to hear what you guys think of this OP Reddit's this entire story so far. Leave those in the comments. I'll see you guys later.